What's going on, guilty guys and gals, and welcome to a video I'm sure you're surprised to see. Ha ha ha. No one that does Pokemon content would ever make a video about Galarian forms now that we've got them confirmed. No one ever. No one's done that. I only made this video because I had some really good ideas and I wanted to share them, okay? Don't berate me already. That being said, basically what I'm going to do is for each one, I'm going to say its new type, its new moves, its new abilities. I've made some little mock-up sprites. They're not perfect. In fact, one of them is kind of bad and I hate it. That it's not perfect. But they're just sort of to get your mind going. I'm sure if any of you are art folks out there, you can make much better ones. I don't have the money for that, though, to commission all I use. So, I really like the idea of regional forms, and I really wanted to give it my own spin. So without further ado, I'm going to go into some honorable mentions here, some runner-ups, and then we'll get right into the list. Yeah, these are Pokemon that either I really like the idea, but they wouldn't really fit in Galar as a Galarian Pokemon, or they were already done somewhere else, and I didn't want to try to claim them as my own. So let's start with Sunflora. This is the one where I don't think it really fits the region. Not that they don't have sunflowers in UK, but just that it fits more in a any other region, really. Any other region. I couldn't really place it on the map, even if I tried. I don't know. But I think having it be the first grass fire type makes the most sense. Solar power, drought, and dry skin, all these sort of like, it doesn't have skin, so that's a little weird, but the ability sort of gets the point across. All of it being focused on the sun, learning new moves such as Ember, Incinerate, Heat Wave, Heat Up, Overheat, and Burn Up, especially Burn Up. I think that's a really cool Pokemon to put Burn Up on, is the first grass fire type. He just kind of burns himself up until he's just grass type again. Grass fire is a really cool type. Like, it's weak to flying and rock, I guess, because I don't think grass resists rock, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, it's really kind of overpowered. I think that's why they haven't done it yet, but I think Sunflora deserves it because its stats are so mediocre. Yeah. Next on our list is the Galarian Farfetchd that we've had sort of teased at us through leaks. Artist rendition here. Pretty good. I didn't want to try to just put a hone edge in its hand or something, so I just went for stock images. But having it still be a normal flying type is what I think I would do, but give it the ability Metal Worker. Either as a hidden ability or as like a main ability, something like that. And have then Defiant be its hidden ability. But Defiant and Inner Focus also makes sense for the sort of night inspiration of it. With Metal Claw, Smart Strike. Smart Strike only because it's a physical steel type move that sort of makes sense. The animation of it is more like a beam or like a gun. So I don't know, but the name of it and the sword idea, I don't know, it kind of made sense to me. Iron Defense and King Shield because now it's holding a shield. Farfetch'd has always been sort of an attacking Pokemon only. It's one of the few normal types that doesn't try to be bulky. That's not true. Most of the normal flying types aren't bulky at all. But I think giving it more defense or even like an ability that changes its defense and attack forms like Aegislash makes sense. The reason I went with Metal Worker, which is currently only on, what's that anchor Pokemon's name? Delmise? I knew that. I love Delmise. Is only on Delmise. It's basically because they wanted it to be sort of like a steel type, even though it's not. It's a grass ghost type. Same thing here. It should still be a normal flying type because it's not really a steel type on it. It's just holding a sword and a shield. So being able to have basically stab bonus with steel type attacks through Metal Worker makes the most sense to me. Also, I think it should get, this is one of the only ones that I did that should get like a new evolution as well, like a Galarian form evolution, in the same vein as Obstagoon, of course. To have Sirfetch'd be a real thing. This is just the the art. Well, it's a DeviantArt user who's linked above there. Look at it. Look at it. Go there if you want. It's also in the description. It's basically just an artist rendition of the original Farfetch'd evolution that they cut from Gen 2. Have something like that, except it's holding a sword, and it's like a vigilante now or something. Maybe it doesn't have a shield in the first evolution then, because it wouldn't really make sense for it to now suddenly have no shield. But who knows? I could also see it like instead going like a super defensive route and getting like armor, be like a super armor duck, and then actually gaining the steel type. So I don't know. Last but not least is the ever-rumored Galarian Noctowl, being an ice flying type as opposed to normal flying with Ice Body, Keen Eye, and Refrigerate. Of course, Refrigerate would be a really cool ability for it, because then you wouldn't have to get rid of all its normal type moves that it learns. They just become ice type moves now, and it's even cooler. Ice Body just sort of makes sense because it's got like a, it's more used to icy climates now, so it makes sense for it to have a body that absorbs hail, basically. And Keen Eye because it's an owl, and it should just have Keen Eye, for sure. With Icy Wind, because it's like Gust, but with ice. Aurora Beam, because Auroras. Hail, Ice Beam, and Ice Shard. All for similar reasons. It's kind of weird to have Ice Shard. I just think giving it priority is nice. I don't think they'd actually do it, because it's mostly a special attacker. You never know, though. You never know. As for where each of these runner-up Pokemon would be located, like I said, I don't really see an area where Sunflora would fit. Maybe near the coast. That would be kind of like an idea, I guess, over by where the water gym is. For Noctowl, it's kind of obvious it would be in the icy area. There's no way it wouldn't be up there in the mountainous areas or in that snowy forest area. And then for Farfetch'd, it's kind of weird. I feel like it should be near the city because it had to pick up a sword from somewhere. It didn't make the sword, per se. I guess the wild area would be kind of an interesting spot. Maybe near those ruins, like it picked up an old sword. Something like that. I don't know if that makes sense, but something like that. But yeah, that's the end of the runner-up section. Let's move on to our first Galarian form. First up on my list of Pokemon that I think could get a Galarian form is Stantler. I think it's clear that Stantler needs some love, of course. My idea for this one was to have him sort of be like a reindeer, so he is, of course, normal ice type. Abilities Snow Warning, Forewarn, and Levitate. This is all based off of my inspiration, sort of, for Stantler. You know reindeer. If you don't know reindeer in popular culture, how about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer? That kind of roots his Snow Warning and Levitate abilities, and I think Forewarn just kind of fits Stantler as a whole. Like, I don't know exactly why, but he seems sort of like Psychic, even though he's been pure normal type the entire time. That being said, of course he'll need some new ice type moves now, and I think starting with Aurora Beam is kind of annoying because it's obviously going to be a physical attacker, but necessary because, Aurora Borealis, it's too easy with the whole North Pole inspirations. Hail, in case you're not running Snow Warning, you can still set up the snow. Avalanche, because physical. Ice Shard, because physical. Present, because Rudolph. And Aurora Veil, again, for the very same reason as Aurora Beam. I think Stantler would probably... I think for most forms, they just tend to redistribute the stats. I think it would be better to make this Stantler more of a glass cannon than the regular Stantler, which is sort of bulky. Specifically because gaining the ice type also means gaining 4 times weakness to fighting, as well as weaknesses to fire and steel and rock. Ice is pretty fragile. It's kind of hard to make a bulky ice type. That being said, I think with Levitate and having the normal typing, you can switch Stantler into a lot of different moves. Like ground type move, you can switch into Stantler. Ghost type move, you can switch into Stantler. It's kind of a cool type combo that correct me if I'm wrong, but we haven't seen before. A lot of the normal mixed with a elemental type we haven't seen yet, so I kind of like these kind of Pokemon. I can hear what you're saying. I can hear it loud and clear. We already have an icy deer Pokemon, Guilty. We have freaking Sawsbuck. But Sawsbuck doesn't gain the ice type, to my knowledge. I actually might have to look that up, but I don't think he does. And, what's the point then? Right? He's not an icy deer. He's just like a snowy tree, basically. He's like Abomasnow, but without the ice type. You know? I think this would be a pretty cool way to have a cooler looking Stantler, to be honest. I think it's shiny form. I'm going to just talk about their shiny forms. I didn't go around and make shiny forms for each of them. Its shiny form could either be closer to regular Stantler's colors or even darker in the fur color, and then have an even brighter red nose just to, you know, signify the whole inspiration for this Galarian form. And yeah. One more bit for Stantler that I forgot to say is I'm going to try to locate all of these forms on the map, and I think Stantler should exist in the top snowy area, obviously. That was the inspiration for it. A lot of these are taken from UK sort of either folklore or stuff like that. But this one is just because I wanted Stantler to have a form, and I really like the idea of having a levitating reindeer Pokemon. At the same time, I think it would be nice if we're not going to get Noctowl to get Stantler instead, because there are rumors we're getting Noctowl. The other reason that I put this so low in comparison to the others, even though I really like it, is because there's some controversy about people importing reindeer for Christmas shows in the UK, and I just don't think Pokemon would want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. But if they don't know about that, then we could still get it. I don't know, we'll see. Next up on our list is Galarian Lapras. I think it only makes sense for it to be a water ghost type, which is a good type, as we've seen with Jellicent. Jellicent kind of destroys everything, with the ability Shell Armor, Multiscale, and Drizzle. This version of Lapras is based on the Loch Ness Monster, obviously. Obviously, if they don't make a Galarian Lapras, we're all going to be sad, right? Right? I think Ghost type only makes sense because it's been so elusive. This does sort of rely on the fact that Sobble isn't also going to be a Water Ghost type. I don't think they do both, to be honest, but we'll see, you never know. So for new moves, I think Nightshade is just an easy early level Ghost type move to teach it. I don't think Astonish really works, although I guess it could because people are astonished when they see it. Bite, because this Lapras gets the teeth from original Lapras. Get it? Shadow Sneak, Phantom Force, and Crunch. Phantom Force, of course, being because the description says it disappears from sight and then reappears in attacks. And Shadow Sneak just because, again, it's sneaking around in the lake, apparently. I also, I'm not talented enough to do so, but I think I would remove the shell on this version of Lapras, because it doesn't rely on, again, just like Stantler, it doesn't rely on defense as much this time. It's much more of avoidance, you know what I mean? It doesn't ferry Pokemon across the lake or anything, it's hiding in the bottom of the lake. To just sort of explain the abilities a bit, Drizzle, most of the good water-type Pokemon rely on rain, so Drizzle just kind of makes sense as a hidden ability. Shell Armor, I would of course switch out if we're not going to have the shell, but it kind of fits for now because it avoids critical hits, so it's harder to take down. And Multiscale, of course, which means when it's in trouble, it takes less damage. Sort of the same idea. Sort of relying on the mythos that it's from the prehistoric ages and it's just managed to survive in this lake somehow. So it has, you know, it negates critical hits and it's better when it's statused, that sort of thing. But yeah, I think I keep forgetting to do this. I'm gonna have to add a part to Stantlers, but I think I'm going to locate them on the map, and there's this one lake down in the bottom right-hand side of the map, right near the beginning. I think it'd be really cool to have like not a Lake of Rage sort of event, but more like a Lake Verity sort of thing, where you go back to the lake after a lot of the game and suddenly things have changed. I don't think you should be able to only get one Galarian Lapras for each game, of course. That would be a little bit weird. But to have surf and to be able to surf on the lake and then suddenly a very rare encounter is Galarian Lapras would be pretty cool, and it would be lore friendly too. So I really like that. I think for Galarian Lapras's shiny form, it would either go purple like its original form, or go like a gray. And that sounds kind of dumb, I know, but most of the pictures of the Loch Ness Monster are either black and white, or they depict it as being very dark or gray. The only reason I went with green is because the lake itself is kind of green. That's just how it is. And it also sort of fits with like more reptilian features in this version. But I think the shiny going gray makes most sense to me. But I don't know. Now this one is the one that sort of sparked my interest in doing this video, and it's kind of weird because it's not a Pokemon I particularly like or anything, but it's just, it's a story that sort of allowed me to visualize some stuff when I was back in high school. So, Galarian Dustox. Now hear me out. Ghost Bug type, another Ghost type. I know, I'm 2 out of 3 on Ghost types, but the other one it could be is Dark type, and that just doesn't really strike me as what it is, because it's not evil, it's just elusive, I guess. It's based on the peppered moth, which was a moth that during the Industrial Revolution changed its colors from sort of white with black spots to being completely black, just because the trees were covered in soot, so it's the only way it could blend in, through means of legit real-world evolution, not just Pokemon evolution this time. There could also be Galarian Wurmple and Galarian Cascoon, but I think it would be kind of weird for it to, you know, do that but not have a Galarian Beautifly. That being said, you could do a Galarian Beautifly too. I just don't know what the inspiration for it would be. The other Pokemon that could be this Galarian form would be Mothim, of course, but that one has the exact same problem, and I think Dustox is closer to sort of the look of the moth that we're talking about. Not really, but none of the Pokemon are, so... Anyway, its new abilities would be Adaptability, Immunity, with the hidden ability Wonder Skin. This goes back to exactly what I was talking about 3 seconds ago. Adaptability, because it changes its form, it changed its colors to adapt to its environment. Immunity, because there were toxins everywhere, and that was the reason it changed. Plus, it used to be Poison type, so fair enough. And then Wonder Skin, just because, you know, it's elusive and stuff, and it's hard to hit, I guess? I don't know. With the new move Shadow Sneak, just because it's a low power ghost type move. Camouflage, for obvious reasons, if you've been listening to what I just said. Ominous Wind, because it's special, and I'm pretty sure Dustox is special, so it'd be nice to give it some ghost type special move. I don't think Shadow Ball really fits it, but maybe as a TM, just not a learn set move. Grudge, because, you know, it had to change its entire look just because of the things happening around it, and then it got eaten up a whole bunch. And Destiny Bond, for pretty much the same reason. I think they could do something like Shellos with this Pokemon, where in more wild, natural environments, like we see, there's a big sort of contrast between nature and industrial areas in this region so far. I think in the industrial areas and like near the big cities and stuff, it would be the black version, because it's, you know, still blending in. And then in more wild areas, it would be the white speckled version, or just the white version in this case. And I think that'd be kind of a cool way, because people, I guarantee people when they first saw it would think, oh my god, I found a shiny. And I don't know what its shiny forms would be. You could also just make the black version a shiny form, or the white version a shiny form, depending on how this region's going to shake out. But I think it'd be probably more faithful to the story of this real-life moth to have it be, in industrial areas, it's black wings, and in natural areas, it's white wings. Yeah, just makes more sense that way. I think it would be most common near the industrial city we see in all the trailers, with the steampunk sort of vibe, and also like in the wild area. That just makes sense. These next two are related, but we're going to start with Galarian Pyroar. It's based on the lion that is on the UK coat of arms. I'm not sure if it's actually the coat of arms, but you know what I mean. And I think I was having a really hard time placing what type I wanted to make it. I think Steel Fire is good. Steel because, of course, it looks like it's made of gold. And it's just sort of the most regal type I could think of, other than Dragon, which really doesn't suit it. And then fire, I just left on it. It could be pure steel or steel normal, but neither of those felt right. So I think steel fire kind of fits it, you know? I always found it kind of weird that Pyroar was a special attacker, but I'm just going to roll with it and do some mix attacking stuff with this one. That being said, I think it should still have Rivalry, because the UK and Rivalry kind of go hand in hand. Intimidate, because it's a big-ass lion, and Moxie, because that still fits it. With the new moves Mirror Shot, Metal Claw, Metal Sound, Iron Defense, and Flash Cannon. Really, just because these are the special Steel-type moves, I do think it could go more physical. Like, why isn't Pyroar physical in the first place? I never really know. I don't really know about that. And have stuff like Iron Head and that sort of jazz. But I just went with what Pyroar usually is, because I don't know how the stat distributions really work with forms. We've only had one region of them, so I don't know. I think this one's pretty cool. I'm not set on the blue and white coloration of its mane, because that's kind of more French than anything. But it's also, with the red eyes, I was trying to make it look sort of like a Union Jack. It's more prevalent, of course, on male Pyroar, because male Pyroar is actually kind of splits off in that way, but I don't know. I like this idea. I think that Pyroar deserves more love, because it gets none because it was Lysander's ace, and Lysander sucked. Also because it was a normal type, and that kind of made it weaker in this case. But yeah, I think it would mostly be found near the end game. We're in the end game now. In these like mountainous areas, perhaps, as Litleo, but not too early. I think this is a kind of a late game mon. Pyroar's shiny is something I don't know about, because I don't know where to go from this design. Do we kind of like harken back to the original Pyroar and have it sort of have like a reddish mane? I don't know. I really don't know. I'd love to see your opinion on what Galarian Pyroar's shiny would look like. Because I just have no idea where to go from here. I really don't. Maybe its body turns silver? That would make sense, because it's gold. I don't know. You tell me. This is the only Galarian form that I did the pre-evolution and the evolve stage for. I liked it that much. Galarian Ponyta. This is based on the unicorn that is on the other end of the coat of arms. And it would be fairy type. It's a unicorn. Also, just imagine with your minds that the fire that I colored blue is instead clouds. That's what I was going for. Fairy fire is a thing, but I don't think that's going to be Ponyta's thing. With the abilities Natural Cure, Runaway, and Airlock. Airlock will make more sense in a moment, but Natural Cure, because it's a fairy and, you know, nature. Also unicorns, at least in Harry Potter. I'm sure that is based on something else. I didn't look too deep into it. Unknown to sort of, you know, cure all diseases. You can use a unicorn horn to heal, like, wounds, stuff like that. And then Runaway, just because that was Ponyta's ability, and I think it still fits, because they're elusive creatures as well. With the moves Baby Doll Eyes, for obvious reasons, Horn Attack, for obvious reasons, Fairy Wind, which again will be more prevalent in a moment, Play Rough, and Purity Horn. This is also the only one I made up a move for, because there's no goddamn physical fairy type moves. How are they going to make Azumarill and, like, what's its name? Slurpuff? And all these physical fairy type mons, and then only have their only move be Play Rough? We need more physical fairy moves. And I think Purity Horn, although it sounds pretty bad, I was trying to think of a better name for it. It's the best I could come up with. Would be sort of a signature move of this Pokemon, and it just, you know, it uses its horn, stabs you with pureness, and then you take, you know, damage. But when we get into the evolution, that's where things really kick up a notch. So Galarian Rapidash. This is why we had Fairy Wind a second ago, and also Airlock. I don't know if they do this. I really don't know if they'd make it a Pegasus, because that's not really UK. It's more Greece. But I think it's really cool to have a now Fairy Flying type. We do have one of those. It's Togekiss. But it is a defensive mon. Like, really just a defensive stall mon. There's like, it has attack, special attack, I should say, but it's not, it's really just bulky. And I think having a physical attacking glass cannon fairy flying type is kind of a cool way to subvert that. Also, again, pretend the fire is clouds. I'm just really bad at this. Don't worry about it. Having, of course, natural cure, and then runaway evolves into gale wings upon evolution, which, of course, still is nerfed, so it's not too bad, but it would get you priority on flying type moves, so that's kind of cool. Which works with the whole glass cannon thing, same as Talonflame. And then airlock. With the moves Wing Attack for obvious reasons, Aerial Ace for obvious reasons, Feather Dance for obvious reasons, Sky Attack for similar obvious reasons, and Tailwind. I really like this idea of having Rapidash become a Pegasus. I know it's been done before, and in fact, when I was looking up sprites to make sure I wasn't just like copying someone, I did see one that was almost identical to the one that I made here. But I tried to make my own sort of lore around it, of course. As to where I think these two would be found, Ponyta, I think, would be found in the wild area. I think that's fair. Just like roam in the fields, but it's sort of a rare encounter, something like that. And then Rapidash, if you were to find it in the wild at all, would be either in the snowy area here, just like hiding in the mountains, or in this fairy area that we see like the giant mushrooms in. That would be an interesting, like, or even the misty woods that are near the starting place, if that's not like a very early game area. Ponyta could be in there, for example. Actually, that might be a better place to have it, to be honest. But it's just a really cool Pokemon, and I definitely have one on my team, because Rapidash is good-ish. It's a good design, it's just its stats don't really hold up in today's meta. So it'd be cool to have like a competitive Rapidash. For the shiny of Ponyta and Rapidash, I think we would go with like the dark Pegasus sort of thing, you know? You see like a black Pegasus in a lot of more modern renditions, and it does look good, like, don't get me wrong, but it would also sort of allude to its cloudiness that you can't really see on my sprite because I didn't really do it. But having the clouds turn more storm cloud colored, that works. What can I say? That really works. It fits way too well to not have it be a thing. So then we could get an actual cool Rapidash shiny. Yeah, you heard me. And that's it. That's all the Galarian forms that I have for you. It's not all the forms that I came up with. I've got a whole list of cool form changes for Pokemon. Maybe one day in like a more long form video, I'll just go over what I think every Pokemon's form could be. That'll be a very long video, but a very funny one. But for now, that's it. What are your thoughts? Tell me in the comments below. Like that one Pyroar shiny, I don't know what to make that. Do you have any ideas on that? And also, do you think any of these will actually make it in the game? Pretty sure Lapras is almost guaranteed. But other than that, the other ones are kind of up in the air. I think it'd be cool if one of these I got pretty close on. It would make me proud. I could be a real Pokemon designer. That being said, if you like the video, like. If you want to see more, subscribe. Like I said, I'll probably do that super long form one where I do like what every Pokemon's alternate form could be. And yeah, have a good day.